Marhaban! My name is Ian Campbell, and this is the second in a series of videos intended to introduce you to the complicated, but not necessarily difficult, grammar of modern Standard Arabic. This series of videos will address how to make nouns and adjectives into phrases, which requires a great deal more in Arabic than it does in English. In this fourth video, I'll be talking about the concept of definiteness and how we make adjectives definite in order to agree with definite nouns. And this is fundamentally very simple, so it's a little bit easier than singulars and plurals. So we'll start with the word at-ta'rif, definiteness. And this comes from the ayn ra fa root, which means to know something. And when we put something in the taf'il form by adding this ta at the beginning and putting long vowel ya in between the last two letters, this usually means making someone or someone else do that thing. So ta'rif means introduction, not in the sense of the first page of something, but in the sense of introducing someone to something else. You're making them know someone. So if I were to do introductions at a party, that's ta'rif, for example. So in English we translate it as definiteness. It's something that has been made known, and I'll get to that word in just a second. In a phrase, Arabic adjectives have to agree with their nouns in definiteness, and the only way to make an adjective definite is to add alif lam to the adjective. And if you've followed the last couple of videos, you've seen a number of examples where I've done this. So there's some redundant content in this video, but I'll go through it in detail. We have the word mu'arraf for definite. So we can see the ayn ra fa here. And if ta'rif is making something known to somebody, mu'arraf is something that has been made known to someone. So literally introduced or made known. Arabic regards definiteness as the default. You want everything to be definite, and you need a good reason for something to be indefinite. There are 4 ways to make a noun definite, and the easiest of them is to add alif lam to the noun. So, talib jadid, these words are indefinite. A new student. There's no a or an here. I'll get to that in a moment. But if we put alif lam on talib and make it the student, in order for jadid to agree, it needs to have alif lam as well, because the only way to make an adjective definite is to add alif lam. So, at-talib al-jadid, the student, the new, or in English, the new student. In English, we don't do anything to adjectives to make them agree with nouns, but in Arabic, we have to do everything to make them agree with nouns, hence why we have to add alif lam here to make this a phrase, the new student. Kutub qadima. Kutub is books, and because it's non-human plural, as we learned in the last video, it's feminine singular. So we add ta marbuta to the adjective, but this is indefinite, just books, not the books. So kutub qadima means old books, but al-kutub is the books, and so we have to add alif lam to qadima as well. Al-kutub al-qadima, the old books, the old in English. So this isn't exactly rocket science. It's pretty easy. If the noun has alif lam, then in a phrase the adjective needs alif lam as well. So this is the easiest one. However, whenever we talk about something in the abstract or in general, in Arabic we add alif lam to the noun, and this sounds kind of weird to an English speaker. So let's learn a new word, yu'jib. Yu'jib means it pleases, and it's going to work like me gusta in Spanish. We're going to use it for I like it or someone likes it. So this is a great word and gets used all the time in the regular language. So pay attention to it. So if I say yu'jibuni, the ni at the end here is me. Usually it's e for my, but after a verb, which this is, it becomes ni. So learn this little phrase, yu'jibuni. Yu'jibuni. Practice it a bunch of times. Yu'jibuni. Yu'jibuni means it pleases me. So it works like me gusta in Spanish. Ashir. Ashir is poetry. Arabs love poetry. I don't particularly, but Arabs do. So it's kind of the main literary mode of the language. So ashir is poetry. So what we're literally saying here is, it pleases me, the poetry. And what we mean is, I like poetry. So in Arabic, however, we're going to say, I like the poetry. Because whenever we talk about something in the abstract or in general, in Arabic we add alif lam. We want to add alif lam. So, yu'jibuni ash-shi'r, I like poetry. You're really saying, I like the poetry. And this is something that takes a moment to get used to adding alif lam when we talk about something in general. In English, we wouldn't use the when we talk about something in the abstract or in general. So it's counterintuitive. Watch out for it. So if the noun that I like is feminine, I change it to tu'jibuni, and I'll get into this when I talk about verb conjugation. Don't worry about it for now. If you said yu'jibuni al-qahwa, everyone would understand that you like coffee, which I do, and the fact that you messed it up by not saying tu'jibuni instead is going to be largely irrelevant or mostly not noticed. So tu'jibuni al-qahwa, if we're going to be all accurate about it, it pleases me, the coffee, or in English, I like coffee. I can use a different pronoun at the end and say yu'jibuhu ashai. Ashai is tea, like chai. So yu'jibuhu ashai. Tea pleases him, or he likes tea. Here, learn another new word, hal. Hal is a great little word. Hal means, hello, I am a yes or no question. In English, we'd say, do you or are you at the beginning of a sentence. But in Arabic, we're going to use this little word, hal, and I'll talk about the question words in the next video. So, hal yu'jibuk ashai? Does tea please you? Or does the tea please you? Or in better English, do you like tea? So learn the words for coffee and tea. They're very useful. They're very common in the Arab world. And use this word yu'jib for it pleases to mean someone likes something. And we'll talk about this in more detail when we get into verb conjugation. But it's a very useful thing to be able to say, which is why it's here. The second way to make a noun definite is to add what we call a domir, or possessive suffix. And you cannot have both of suffix and alif lam. So if we look at these examples here, we have Beiti al-Jadid. So Beit is house, Beiti is my house. And since now having a domir, or possessive suffix on the end, makes it definite, its adjective needs to be definite as well. And so we have to add alif lam to it, because the only way to make an adjective definite is to add alif lam. So Beiti al-Jadid, my house the new, or my new house. Now, as a new student, you're going to be awfully inclined to put alif lam on this, to say al-Beiti. And that's like, it's too definite. You can't be this definite. It's like crossing the streams in Ghostbusters. It's a bad idea. So either you can have alif lam or a domir, or possessive suffix, but you mustn't have both. So beiti, it looks indefinite because it doesn't have alif lam, but it is definite bisabab ad-domir, because of the pronoun. Therefore, its adjective needs alif lam as well. So, Beiti al-Jadid, my new house. A sayyara is a car. It ends in ta marbuta. So when we put the possessive suffix for your after it, we untie the ta marbuta and make it regular ta. So, sayyaratuka, and no one says this. Everyone says sayyaratak. And then, because a sayyara is feminine, its adjective needs ta marbuta. And because it has a domir, it's definite or mu'arraf, so its adjective needs alif lam. Sayyaratuk al-Jadida, your new car. Ustad is professor. Ustadna, our professor, and that makes him definite. So his adjective, latif, for nice, needs to have alif lam on it as well. Ukhtuhu, so an ukht is a sister, and then ho is his at the end here. So ukhtuhu, his sister. And then because she's a woman, we need to describe her using ta marbuta. And because she's definite, because she effectively belongs to him here, we have to put alif lam on the adjective. And then we have the adjective karim. Karim is a great virtue in Arabic cultures. It basically means generous or hospitable. So, someone shows up at your house, you throw out the luxury goods for them. That's just how you roll. Someone in the cashier line ahead of you in the grocery store is struggling to pay for their groceries. You give them $20. You demonstrate that you're karim, which is a really important virtue in most Arabic cultures. So his generous or hospitable sister is what we're saying here. So if you add a domir or possessive suffix, the adjective in a phrase needs to have alif lam on it, even though the noun can't have alif lam on it. That's an easy source of confusion for new learners, so watch out for that one. The third way to make a noun definite is to have it be a proper noun, a specific person, place, or thing, specific person or place usually. Some proper nouns have alif lam and some don't. It's no big deal either way. So I can say Mahmud. Mahmud is a man's name. Mahmud al-Karim. So this is like generous Mahmud or hospitable Mahmud. And this means we think very highly of him. Fatima. Fatima is a woman's name. Fatima al-Latifa. So I've taken Latif for nice. I've added ta marbuta because she's a woman. I've added alif lam because a proper noun is always definite. So this is like nice Fatima or kind Fatima. Medina Kabira. Now Medina is just the word for city, so it's not a proper noun. Kabira means big. So if we were to talk about Al-Medina, the name of the city called Medina, which is just city because it's really Al-Medina Al-Munawwara, the illuminated city, then it becomes a proper noun, and then you have to add the alif lam to it. But just Medina Kabira by itself means a big city. Al-Qahira is the word for Cairo, and so it happens to have, it means the conqueror, and it happens to have alif lam on it for no particularly good reason, and so its adjective needs to have alif lam on it as well. And since it's feminine, its adjective needs to be feminine as well. Now there are some cities that don't have alif lam. For example, Beirut. So Beirut is a proper noun and therefore it's definite. So its adjective gets alif lam to make it definite as well. But Beirut is a city, and because the word for city, al-Medina, is grammatically feminine, all cities are always grammatically feminine no matter what they end with. So Beirut al-Kabira, big Beirut here. Because it's a proper noun, then its adjective needs to have alif lam as well. So the third way to make a noun definite is to have it be a proper noun. The fourth and final way to make a noun definite is to have it be owned by another noun. This is called al-idafa, which means addition, like addition and subtraction. And it's going to be a whole topic of like a 4-video series because it's definitely one of the oddest things about introductory Arabic. So we're going to take our time on it with a video later on. I'll just give you some examples here. So mekteb is office. Al-ustadh is the professor. So Mektab al-Ustadh means the office of the professor or the professor's office. So because Mektab is owned by the professor here, it's definite, even though it doesn't look definite, and in fact it can't be made to look definite. Again, this is going to be the subject of a whole series of videos, so don't sweat it if this is weird for you. I'll go through it in great detail and you'll understand that it's backwards to an English speaker, but it's pretty easy to decode. So Beit ar-Rajul, House the man means the house of the man or the man's house. Since the man owns the house, bait here is definite, mu'arraf, even though it doesn't look like it is. Sayyara, here it is by itself. Sayyara is car. And then sadiqi is my friend. So neither one of these words has alif lam on it, but in fact they're both definite. Sadiqi is definite because of the damir, my friend, and sayyara is definite because it's owned by my friend. So we're going to say sayyarat sadiqi, and you're going to hear the ta in ta marbuta, and again, I will explain that in a subsequent series of videos. So sayyarat sadiqi, the car of my friend or my friend's car. And here we have sayyarat Mahmud, the car of Mahmud or Mahmud's car. Neither one of these words has alif lam, but they're both definite. Mahmud because it's a proper name, and sayyara because it belongs to Mahmud. So again, I'll cover this in a whole unit by itself. So when we get to indefinite nouns, we call them ghair mu'arraf. Remember that ghair means non or un or in as a prefix. And then mu'arraf is known. So unknown or unintroduced is literally what this means in Arabic. We say indefinite in English. English wants nouns to be indefinite. Arabic wants them to be definite. You need a good reason for a word to be indefinite, and you have to infer the a or an, because there's no a or an in Arabic. So, mektab kabir, a big office. Beit saghir, a small house. Sayara jadida, a small car. Ghurfa saghira, a small room. There's no a or an, you just have to recognize it as being there. This isn't really very, very difficult. In very fancy Arabic, like religious discourse or poetry, literature, indefinite nouns will take tanween endings, and their adjectives have to as well. So if we're going to change these, if it's the subject of the sentence, we say mektabun kabirun. No one actually says this in conversation. If it's the object of a verb, like I bought a small house, we'd say beitan saghiran. And so tanween al-fath, as we saw in the last lesson, because of a spelling hangover from Quranic days, he needs an extra unpronounced alif, and so does his adjective. So beitan saghiran. Again, nobody will really say this. You will see it in writing, though, but you'll only see the extra alif and not the tanween al-fath. And again, this is one of those thank you Arabic for being super complicated things. This is definitely not something you need to worry about at your level. It's just here for completeness purposes. If I bought a new car, which I have not, I would say sayaratan jadidatan. And we don't need the extra alif if the word ends with ta marbuta. If I were in a small room, I'd say fi for in, and then ghurfatin saghiratin. But again, no one says this in everyday conversation. It's just here for the purpose of completeness, and we are now